Now, as regards Al-Hassan ibn Ali alayhi salam, well, for 10 years in Medina, Imam remained, during which time he was still a revered figure. He was a teacher. People would come to him for guidance, for questions. And in fact, his popularity in Medina was something that never reduced. Because after Kufa, at the time of relinquishing the authority to Muawiyah, at least the temporal authority, of course, not the imamate at all. It's not something that Al-Hassan ibn Ali, we should be very clear, did not relinquish the office of imamate at all, just merely governmental power. He decided to come back to Medina. And in Medina, Muawiyah kept abreast of his activities, and he kept getting reports that, you know, the popularity of Al-Hassan in Medina is at an all-time high. People have great respect for him. And this was another thorn, an unresolved issue for him. And so we find that through Marwan al-Hakam, who was his governor in Medina at the time, he approached, or he got Marwan to approach one of the wives of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, whose name was Jawda bint Ash'as bint Qais. And with the promise of some money, perhaps 100,000 dirham is mentioned, and a promise that if you poison Al-Hassan alayhi salam, if you manage to poison him, then we will marry you, or you will be married to Yazid. And although Imam Al-Hassan alayhi salam had been poisoned, or attempts had been made to poison him many times, this woman, Jawda, she managed to put something in his water, because obviously she, as a wife, she had access to him that was unique, and she put something in his drinking water, a poison that had been sent from Muawiyah, that really was the cause of the martyrdom and the death of Al-Hassan, which happened in 49 Hijri. He was only 46 years old at the time, in the end of Safar. And of course, her heinous activity did not really get her very much. She got her money, but Muawiyah then married her off to one of his generals rather than Yazid. And when she said, well, I was promised to be married to Yazid, Muawiyah said, you can kill one husband, what is to stop you killing another husband tomorrow? Now, I just want to talk briefly in the next 5 minutes before we finish about the tragedy for Hassan ibn Ali alayhi salam is not only that he was killed in this manner and his position was not fully appreciated, but also that Muawiyah managed to insert into the history books a lot of false propaganda in his attempt to bring down Imam Hassan alayhi salam's popularity, which have survived till today. And you will find some odd ahadith in the books today even. For example, you will find that he was a strict Uthmani, and that he was a personal friend of Uthman bin Affan, and this brought him at loggerheads. This is something that Dr. Taha Hussain writes in Al-Fitnatul Kubra, that this brought him to loggerheads with his own father, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. That after the killing of Uthman, he quotes a hadith that says, after the killing of Uthman, Ali ibn Abi Talib passed by Al-Hassan, who was doing the wudu incorrectly, and that he told him that, do your wudu properly. And Al-Hassan bitterly told him that you killed the man who used to do the wudu properly yesterday. And apparently Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam said to him, may Allah prolong your sorrow for Uthman. Now, this we find in hadith, first of all, the fact that Al-Hassan, at that age, when Uthman is killed, we're looking at 35 Hijri, Imam Hassan alayhi salam is a 30-year-old plus man who doesn't know to do wudu correctly. It doesn't make sense. Second, for him to say, you have killed a man. Ali ibn Abi Talib did not kill anyone, nor did he, as people would like to believe, step back and let the killers kill Uthman. In fact, he used to send Al-Hassan and Al-Hussein alayhi salam with water to the government house where the men had besieged it, and he knew Uthman inside and his family didn't have water. He would send them with provisions, and the people would reluctantly let Al-Hassan and Al-Hussein go through because they respected them. And so that is how Uthman in his last days was being given water by the people, was receiving water and food. In actual fact, this is actually a mistake. Taha Hussein is mistaking Al-Hassan al-Basri for Hassan ibn Ali alayhi salam, that this conversation is allegedly supposed to have happened between Al-Hassan al-Basri and Ali ibn Abi Talib, and that even is not a very strong report. The other lie that was fabricated against Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam by Muawiyah was that he was a pleasure-loving individual, sensual individual. He used to love marrying women and then divorcing them. And in this manner, he went through almost 200 women, to the point where Ali ibn Abi Talib used to advise men that don't give your daughters to my son Al-Hassan in marriage, because he is habituated to divorcing women. I mean, this kind of nonsense you find in the hadith books today, because of the attacks and the propaganda that Muawiyah directed at him. As we mentioned, Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, at the time of his death, when he knew his death was approaching, he called for his brother Imam Hassan alayhi salam and said to him that a poison has been given to me this time around, which will kill me, because it has brought up my own liver and I have vomited that into a bowl. And really, I now wish to make my will known, and I want you to bury me, according to one riwayat, bury me next to my grandfather. In another riwayah we have that, take me to renew my covenant with my grandfather before you bury me in Baqi. In any case, we have several reports that Al-Hassan alayhi salam wanted to be buried next to the Prophet, peace be upon him. And at the time that the janazah, the bier, was brought there, we have reports that Banu Umayyah, headed by Marwan bin Hakam, Sa'id bin al-As, and even Aisha, came out to prevent that. And so much so that we have the amazing scene where even arrows were shot at the janazah of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. And Imam Hussein alayhi salam said that if he had not told us, and specifically had told us that there should be no bloodshed and no battle at my death, we would have removed our swords and you would have seen what would have happened here. But nonetheless, he was prevented from coming close to the grave of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Aisha came out riding on a mule, and we have in riwayat, Mas'udi says that her own nephew, Qasim bin Muhammad bin Abu Bakr, says to her, "Oh aunt, yesterday you were mounted on a camel, and today, do you want this day to be known as the day of the grey mule?" And so she went back. But in any case, people gathered and refused for the janazah of Hassan ibn Ali alayhi salam to come any closer. And so Imam Hussain alayhi salam took the body, and the Banu Hashim took the body and buried Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam in Baqi, where his grave is still known to get. Today you will see the 4 Imams who are buried, Al-Hassan alayhi salam, and Imam Zain al-Abidin, and Imam Muhammad Baqir, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. That brings us to the end of a very brief look, very brief snapshot, because we only really have about 40 minutes in these sessions. And so we cannot do much more than this 40-45 minutes, which have come to an end. And so I leave you with that, inshallah wa ta'ala, in the weeks to come, because it will be a live session. We will be able to look at some questions, and also I'll be able to benefit from your own comments and discussions on what has been talked about. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.